Ele banjo. Ele banjo. Ele banjo. Why go?
Good evening, everybody.
Bread of life is Jesus Christ.
Mema Obibia, Majo, any Akapa, Ebajumadi. So this is what's up radio number one radio station, London. Now, so tuning in there, just remind you this is awareness from your number one radio station. Now, so tuning in there, I'll give a special welcome to you if this first time I watch you in. As usual, me do be call mine Ghana muna. And you ma is seen our tree me must sonne so na ma so na the also na me bro. So make sure you don't move your dial because right now till 7 o'clock I'll be in your way. Now me no watch a train come akoso a year and somewhere more rem. It been so you're very surprised by beyond so what's here because we there tia bro. Now this week here, also report of motions of censors against the finance minister laid before Parliament. And I am somebody didn't have bro. I may comment so I say how Gabi and Kufuado's brother called majority leader on how to shoot down minority censors motion. What's a man? I didn't AI family affairs. Do you agree or disagree? Cedro can also do watching a movie. Producer, Pachobi to me, I share a cheer mame. I see confusion, hate, comfort, and Nochi Hospital over retired CEO accumulated leave package. Someone named say a very BS Gracia. I just say, I can't want them with Hasa a year MPs, no, sometimes or more retire, and that's or more your majuma either 4 years, majority of them 8 years, and you my head more sometimes will be a juma over 30 years, sometimes 50 years, or more retirement package in Rosa. We not yes ABS confirm she will go and look into it. That's say your parliament, dear. We cannot talk about parliament without talking about Mami Ajwa Safo. Now when and now watch him some money and some buy and Ajwa Safo and Tegan and Kabina for a very kaya Ajwa Safo Ghana this week. Yeah, yes, Ajwa Safo reportedly leaves Ghana barely 2 weeks after her return. Enti mami yeah Ghana Juma Naza Otiabruchi. Now do you even think is it right say mami Odini Juma better ho and said do you think it's about time I hear another MP and or are you with the groups so more full say family comes first no matter what no you need to take some form of time off to look after your family because say be a Jumabe call a Jumabe Baba families will always be there for you. Let me know your thoughts at our comment section. One arrested, others on the run after allegedly murdering police officer. Since you now cheap, they not sounds in seminar TBH na arm robbers na say the nanka a joke cry. Na watchy assign a man who so be. Government promises more support to Ghana police. That's the way the Yatia Brana, Zadovika. And as a way, did your dad have money be? Then we're looking at caught into corruption or sanction corrupt officials to motivate auditors and say no to corruption. One him say corruption the and once and seven a bar see a dream katase share kankai and head the keka ho adokro nipa binum e Ghana. Now how are we going to fight corruption? We and sembia na wotwi and ho aba sempa. Now how are we going to kind of fight corruption or Ghana? My main so me who a drew my mente one ne and answer comment na emfa won so what ideas and to just also announce react to blackmail exaltation allegation when in Sembebre and anawachi akoso ewo by Ghana mu na with that much I do no and ne ebejafo ameni omo be ejuma eyemi ame boss kweku jesi bonso afa na edwa ewo fie ha say sanso na as the program goes on no obet say sami ama enso enka ewo fie boss pacho obetumi abakakra. That's right. Amame. It's with that much I do remember Kweku Achia. Kweku good evening.
Fine evening, Nanahemaa.
Now what she has your week been?
It's been great. You say UK. If you are seeing air call, but say Okoba back also Okoba you son of to me and you fully.
Chechemuka so Okoba back also Okoba you
Also some time ago now Ube to me a Juma back now they are
yeah.
If you want to live the kind of lifestyle now, who live who say now, then I was say
we are different.
Exactly, we are different.
San your mayor, dear Bia, to say, my dream, Miakasano, said me say, I see a papa because this year I say cost of living. What's the car or so babina, and make a far joint be. So our name said Sabri, this weekend was a Black Friday weekend.
Correct.
Papa.
Hello.
Yes, that's much better. Now, only said this week, Black Friday weekend. Now, Friday was Black Friday. Now, Enra make a bomb near Konhuma or Kingston, like shops be moving, but send me did ni betuja. Na ni papa traffic pa baby and I'm a driver and no circumstance not taking better 30 minutes. It took me like 2 hours.
Wow.
Maybe me can't need to meet you now for 3 minutes. Now a movie, and it's all because of shoppers. But see, we are heading. So it made me think, say, I am passing we are heading, and I say because of bargain now, banana 4% or more top and your mouse send a bear economical price now. I was a little bit confused. What is causing this?
No, I think, sir, interesting. That is what I was expecting, say, during your friend is saying pandemic. No, I was expecting, say, we are seeing dinner and Crawford take very pragmatic decisions to anything they are doing. Example, when it comes to this particular times, been Christmas. Even though we are saying, you know, there are loved ones be you cannot say if you are saying, you know, to me and show love. We are all showing love. We've been doing it in a we are still we want to do it. And I believe people are taking advantage now for the discount because some time ago, no, people didn't really care about the Black Friday in too much. Even though a normal cost amount for turnover, I think this time round, everybody want to save money by making sure say every little help. Into Sadiano £1 crown a better so and there. I think say it's better to take advantage of it than say overtrain not time no aboarding. So I think people, because of the hardship, people are trying to take advantage of the discounts now, and that's why everybody went out on. Because I will give you an example. I have known the Black Friday for some time now, but I haven't really been part of it.
Mm.
I have never been part of it.
Were you part of it this year?
Yeah, this year I was thinking, oh, if I want to buy something, I have to buy it.
This
is the time. So I believe, say, people are thinking and they want to save money. They have to do what they have to do. So I think people are taking advantage of the Black Friday and they are going out.
But there was something I also read, even though they say Black Friday, people need to be very careful because not all discounts are actually discounts.
Correct.
It sounds like you might think, discounts be a cost, but in the actual sense, it's not a discount. So people will have to be careful what they perceive, or many discount. And I was surprised because it's interesting, sales, there's always sales in this especially UK has say.
Yeah.
And I was even thinking, ain't it sad discount for almost as a credit card and I was just amazed.
No, you've made mention of something. I think, if you see interesting, right? There's perception of what is going to happen in 2023, and people who understand economy, understand economics, understand what is happening now. People are thinking, say, in 2023 there's going to be a recession.
Recession, yeah.
When recession
but
happens,
to be fair, apparently UK is already in recession.
Exactly. But it hasn't taken effect on the banks because when it happens now, what happens? There's the interest rate in normal buffer. Now, what the banks are doing now, I don't know. The banks are making every effort to take advantage of the recession that is coming. So they're pushing money into the system now and lock people into it. So now if you go to a bank and say you want a loan, they give it to you quickly. I mean, as far as your credit score is a little bit good, they're going to give you the money quickly and lock you into it and say, look, I mean, the interest rate you are giving you now is about 16% or 14%, but at a fixed rate for about 3 years. So therefore, when recession comes and the interest rate drop, you have already locked yourself, committed to it. So now that's what the banks are doing. So it is good that you have mentioned that a lot of people are spending on credit card. A lot of people are spending on loans now because the banks are now willing to give people money, and that is the most dangerous part of it.
It will be interesting. This is kind of a little bit of analysis I hear UK. I would like to know what is going on in Ghana because Chroma is very easy. Sometimes you go to the shops and people are spending, and you might think that, hey, how are they spending this money? Is it like real money or is it what kind of money are they spending? I would like to know how people are kind of, is it the same kind of spending culture and also Ghana. I would like it's for say who would see me I would like to know your thoughts. Especially, I would like to hear if you are not in the United Kingdom, if you are in any parts of the world, be it Europe and I say America. I would like to know your thoughts. I would like to know the spending pattern, especially with this Black Friday and all the sales going on. Say, I would like to know, say, spending pattern or I would like to know those
Ghana for spending
especially Ghana, because the reason here Ghana is of essence to me, because meaning say Ghana when it gets to credit card now, it's not that and papa. So I would like to know what have you heard anything at all? Because Minya Bibia from Ghana.
In fact, from the little that we have read, because in Ghana. So what we do is to read a lot and then speak to people as well. Nothing is happening anymore. The banks don't even have money to lend out. The government has a lot of initiatives, which is fantastic. But at the moment, as we are saying, it's not said they have the money and they can't spend it. In our case, we've got the money and it goes quicker. In Ghana, no, amount for crying near Juma, no many Sikani BSC. So, amount more than only now a different. I can say the banks are now willing to give people money and lock them in until the recession is over right now. So, in Ghana, is the banks taking advantage of it? Are people working? Can you borrow money to people who are not working? All these things are into consideration. And I feel said in Ghana, no, I don't think say it's easy for you to walk into the bank and get money and go on Black Friday shopping spree like what people are doing.
more Black Friday.
I don't know. But
Oh, but that's yeah. My car by the bidani, my some of my sammy. I think that over now would see what was going on, and Black Friday is an American thing, and obviously the whole of this weekend is a Black Friday weekend. Black Friday has predominantly been an American thing. Now it's come to stay in UK. And no Ghana so dear and like this, no, everybody is buying into it now. People do sales. Now me could say yes, this weekend I just went out and I was shocked that the amount of you can't even drive through town. You can't. You spend traffic in terms of fuel, even though this is fuel cost will be as soon. And I was shocked the amount of people who were in town shopping for Black Friday. I don't know what your experience has been. Have you done any shopping?
Oh no, I haven't. Surely not. I don't. I was listening to Matt Lewis, the guy gathers the money and
how to save money.
Yeah, and there are some few commentators also that mention, and I think that pulled me off a little bit slightly. The fact that the Black Friday in itself, you can actually not conclude, but say there's a bit of a scam on Black Friday because some of the promotion that you see on Black Friday are actually original prices in a couple of months back, and then they increase the price and then they bring it down again to
the original price. Yeah.
I mean, it's illegal. It's not anything that. So in that itself, there are some that are genuine, in terms of the further the pricing that you see there, but there are some of them that they are just totally, in my view, fabricated. But that was one of the reasons why I didn't really do much shopping. But again, himself things are much harder now as comparatively to some couple of months back when cost of living seems to be quite high but manageable. But now it's extremely on the extreme end.
Have you started feeling it on a personal level? You don't have to go in detail, but
everyone does, because our wages are, dwindling a bit, going down with inflation.
Yeah.
Even if you get a slight pay rise, it kind of
Doesn't
inflation eats it up. So you end up having to. And a couple of months back as well, when we had a national insurance increase, which of course they brought it down. I know in itself, is something that affected the wages. So yes, it all depends on quite a lot of factors. But the point is, everything has gone up. So if your wage is not matching up the inflation, you can't say you are better off. You're definitely worse off. And that seems to be, a general overboard issue, especially if you're getting your wage from either the private or public sector. Now, if you have your own business, you wouldn't feel it because I suspect you get money from your business in a way. Even so,
what makes you think if you run your own business? Because sometimes it's even more difficult.
Because the possibility of you as a sole trader enjoying all the profit of your business in itself, the prices goes up. You also put on your prices. So the customer is a consumer that actually pays some of the costs that.
But is it not interesting then now a lot of firms, private firms like pubs, restaurant, and all that, they're closing because they can't basically cope.
Well, you can look at some of those costs, in terms of depends on the sort of business that you run. But if you're a retailer, a corner shop, for example, you go to warehouses, the prices have gone up. The chances are you also have to put up your price to cushion, those sort of price. So in a way, yes, it can have a bit of an effect on, because will customers be able to buy if you put the prices up? But because it's an across-board thing, it seems to be, people don't really have a choice that when the price goes up, they still have to buy. So I'm making those small inferences in the sense, say, as a sole trader, having my own business or even a partnership now, you can cushion some of these burdens and push it back to the consumer. And therefore, it doesn't really affect you much. And you remember I said, if you have your own business, you enjoy all the profit of your business. And therefore, if things are hard, but so you can, say you can stay afloat much better than someone who actually cannot really determine what it is that they get from the government, because government has decided, said they're not going to do any pay increase, isn't it? And then our prices, the pay remains the same. Prices of things are actually up. And if you drive in, it's even worse because, we know the inflation issues, which is stated by the price of fuel, is also a massive problem. So everyone is being hit, in a very distinct way. But again, if your income level is the threshold, would depends on how you manage to float. Yeah, how you manage to float and live with the cost of living, and how. So every obia on a level or suffer. Yeah, in that aspect.
Yesterday I was talking to somebody, and Nipano, now we're talking about this cost of living. And according to Nipano, only for at least I mentioned for 6, I'll meet prominent people back in Ghana. Just say be on me traders, and I say like people professionals. But it was very interesting. Say none of those people, our mere professionals, want to even stay in the country, to the extent that some of them work in the tertiary institutions, and they are trying to leave the shores of Ghana. And it's purely because one of them vividly says, years back, not too long ago, not any salary or as a professor, or to me, the Nisikano, any PhD, as a PhD abroad, be it distant learning or what. But now, the city has gone down so much, say it will be very, very difficult for anybody on a government salary at a higher level of professionalism to be able to afford education abroad. And someone also is pushing the family. They say on Canada because of full say so because of the kids between me and Kratasem. Do you think that these sort of thing will bring some form of brain drain in Ghana now?
Nanahemaa, but Aquana or a PhD. How many PhDs no person in a year?
No. I think said Nayuri and as somebody they know in their department wanted to do PhD, but I don't know where we any but he was able to afford.
But he was just using that.
Yeah, so to analyze and run on somebody, a member of Nipani family want to do PhD. The fee, is not that different. Compared to what he paid for in terms of whatever currency he paid in other than Ghana currency, he was able to kind of afford it. But now you need more cities to be able to cover.
You are not getting paid enough.
Yeah, you're not getting paid. Even when your salaries go up, you can't.
The exchange rates will suck it.
So my question to you is: do you think that these sort of recession will bring some of brain drain? Because from a reliable source, and a lot of students are going for some form of recommendation to come abroad, not actually for holidays, but they come into work.
Nana, it's interesting. This boils down to the plans that we have for our country. I believe, sir, if you are a country and you don't know what to do with your human capacity, then a problem. We've spent money training, especially people like teachers and nurses. And you are talking about somebody who is lecturing now. So I can relate that to somebody who has benefited from kind of SICA government has dole out to produce people like Manda we are talking about. And now he thinks that the system now that has managed to produce him, is the same system is not capable to sustain him. So they have to plan of leaving the country. And if you look at things of this nature now, then you ask yourself, say, do we have any plans for the future? Are we producing people and then leaving them to their own fate? And if we do that, how is the country going to benefit from these people? Like you are saying, if I am a lecturer and I'm in Ghana and I feel say I cannot leave me home training, I'll find a way to find a greener pasture somewhere. Unfortunately for Ghana, and fortunately for people who want to leave, there are countries that are looking for those guys. You know, and we don't think we need them that much. If we think we need that much, we'll do everything to make sure say we keep them in the system.
To add a bit to what you just said, I don't know whether you looked at Prime Minister, the way they're going to tackle immigration.
Yeah.
Because they now want to deter themselves from Europe.
Yeah.
And now they're looking at finding people to me with talent, with gifts, with certificates or whatever to help build a country like United Kingdom, which is very attractive. But we spend so much time to train these people, and we are not able to.
Amazing. And I have said this on this radio before. And sometimes when I say them, I don't say them because I am scared or I panic, but sometimes if you live in Europe, you can see how these guys are planning for their future. Now, if you look at how Europe is going about now, they want to have smart people, only smart people to live in this world. The reason why they need smart people is because the economy is changing and they need people who can be creative and come out with something different so that people can enjoy. So in actual fact, in the near future, people who have talent will survive. People like you and I who don't have talent and we've not created anything, it will be difficult for us to live because nobody is going to pay you for doing nothing. Just imagine, say, in the next 5 years, now Rishi Sunak has said, because NHS, nurses and doctors want too much money, they are paying them a lot of money. At the same time, there's a lot of money that they need to put into the NHS. So he has told them, said, you have to embrace yourself now to work with the robot. We are going to bring them in. And these are some of the things that we are going to see in the near future. From 2023, 2024 is going to be very common. You'll be at home and a robot will just come and deliver your parcel.
But has it not started?
It has, but it's not on a large scale, on a higher scale. So,
it's just something that is very interesting. Like in the West and a place like United Kingdom, if you're not smart, even apart from you being employable, no, you even difficult. If let's say they don't pay you even if you have the money now, if you are not smarter, if you are not careful, it will be very difficult to access the services we have. And I'll give you an example. Not long ago, like somebody I know wanted to access the NHS. And you say Nipano or now what was happening? Everything is digital.
Yeah.
So you have to go online. Nobody's going to before you go to your GP surgery or whatever and get it done. Now you have to stay home. So yeah, new penufo be they educated, but their kind of system of education is different from what we've got now. So they are not able, especially senior citizens or be at the 70, 80, they are not the millennials, and they are different. And these people will not be able to access things online. So at the end, nipa to me access that service. It doesn't matter. Nipa when it doesn't matter. You got the red book, it doesn't, but you haven't got, and there's no face-to-face appointment, which is very scary.
It is.
It is so crazy as to say, and as I'm in a name for what the bedroom. How are you going to live in this world?
It is really scary, and that is why we have to know the kind of education we are giving to even people back home. Because you know what, the world, I don't. The world is running, and the speed, any rate now, air corner. It is so obvious. You can see it if you live in Europe, but you find it difficult to understand it when you live outside of the developed world. And that is why we tend to joke. Look, I have been on YouTube. I'll give you an example to see how YouTubers, the differences between YouTubers who are making real money on this social media platform. And it's about people who have got talent to share. If you look at Europeans who are on YouTube and making money, right? It's about creativity, knowledge, teaching, showing somebody how to do something, creating something. Well, if you go to our side of the world in Africa, the kind of creativity we have is about comedy. Yes. And that kind of comedy, you ask yourself, say, are they making the money even back home? No, they are not. It's people who are living in Europe, you and I, who are living in Europe, who is missing what is happening back home. And that YouTube channel becomes a link for you to rely and smile and laugh. And then you think, oh, I'm watching TV in Ghana. It is not making them money like the way these Europeans have learned, and they know what people want. And even the sort of creativity they put out there is for you, me, them, and everyone. With our one, it's just for us.
Yeah, it narrows
the whole thing to just us. So even if they are making money, they are not making that too much money. But let's forget about that. All that we are talking about is the smartness. Now, we used to have smart motorways. Again, smart motorways. The motorway is smart. The signboard you see, the signpost you see, it changes as the activities on the road changes. So it keeps updating you. Reduce your speed now, so you can go on this road. It is 70 miles per hour. It's always 70 miles per hour. But if something happens, it's going to tell you to reduce your speed to maybe 40 kilometers per hour before you get there. These are some of the things that we are talking about. But in our case, it's not like that. It makes it so scary to me. Say, one year, this is the time people who are stupid are going to be eliminated. Because, man, like you said, somebody has to access NHS. And there's nobody to help that person unless that person is able to access that services, him or herself, on the internet. If that person couldn't do it and he is alone, what is going to happen?
Hold on, my main cause for me. So I think I know this is not, but indirectly it's affecting. This is a global thing. Yesterday I went to the airport, and the last time I was in the airport, it wasn't like 2 months ago, but I didn't actually do anything. I just picked somebody up. But the last time I traveled actually to access the service, probably just before the lockdown, that's over 2 years ago. And Satampono, you know, these electronic passports. And I was like, hey, this is the Udu Hanuma, Obian Chekipo, passport needs arena Woko. Yesterday I was at the airport and I was shocked. It's changed just like that. They've got cameras everywhere. They've got a check-in everywhere. So you can just basically go through immigration without necessarily
going to
queue. And you might think, say, you can probably get away with it, but the big brother's eye is everywhere. Now we're talking about the way technology is advancing, and when you go now paperless at work, nothing is done with paper anymore. Everything is by emails and contracts, and everything is by email, cutting down on manual stuff. I don't know about you, but your coffee, it's slightly moving by, we're moving at a tortoise rate. Do you think that from how the world is changing, Africa on the whole, what do we need to do to catch up with the West? Because we say, yeah, careful, we'll not be able to even access the services now, because we don't have the technical know-how.
We wouldn't even be there to access it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very true. You know, the companies and organizations have innovated in terms of adding technology to some of the services, and of course, it's very governmental in nature. Government has tried to digitize quite a lot of things, and you're right to say, in a lot of organizations, some of these digitization is actually the foundation of the greener way that companies want to live, because people are now thinking, if you want to live green, it means that you have to go paperless. You know, the banks have already been doing this. In fact, I signed up to not to have paper bank statement for, I mean, some years, but considering about maybe 6-7 years ago that I signed up, and that also applies to the mobile phone contracts that we have. So it is actually not quite new now that you see these things happening, but you know, in that as well, no, there are some provision around it where the people that you describe as, you know, who struggle to be able to use the digitization aspect, no? And that's why, if you look at banking, for example, the branches are also still in operation, even though they're closing quite a lot of them down. For some of those services that, you know, people that will struggle to be able to use some of the digitization can go. So there is a kind of a balance between that to allow that to manifest itself in terms of how the consumer, you know, interacts with digitization of the environment, also of these services. But then you make reference to the Ghana thing as to whether we can be able to catch up on
Africa.
How? I mean, Africa is quite broad. I mean, South Africa is
even you wonder.
Well, then the unfortunate, I don't really know how in terms. But look, Ghana, in terms of our digitization, we are really well advanced comparatively. Not necessarily as a GPS, but if you see what the vice president, I mean, it didn't start from him, you know, to be honest. But what they're trying to do to make we now have an ID system, you know, which you can, you know, compared to what other countries have in terms of capturing some of the bio data that is needed, and therefore location of people. Uber services in Ghana now, you have other driving hail services.
We got OGB Ride.
OGB Ride has started quite recently, which is fantastic news as well, even cheaper than Uber, I would say. So the issue of digitization is actually now the direction that we are going as a country. And I'm going to make reference to Ghana specifically because Africa is such a broad terminology to use. So the catching up in itself is very slow. But you understand, say, we in ourselves, we haven't actually advanced that much in terms of the technology or the facilities that are needed to revamp that technological base. Because if you go to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital now, we're still very, very manual in the way things are run in Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Prescription are still very, very much run manually. If you even want a prescription, you will have to go and buy your own medicines. I mean, you even forget about those aspect. But what I was trying to imply is say we don't have the technological base to be able to catch up to the rest of the world, and I mean the Western world, on how far they have gone with the way they run, the paperless economy. But I think say it is something that is now moving towards that direction. Now that organizations are, moving towards that slowly, but there will be, it will be a very long way now, because I think for businesses to have that means they need to invest in that technology that is needed for you to actually say I'm now going to be very technological and therefore less paper based. But a lot of companies probably will not have the financial muscle to be able to do that, so it will take some time.
Hold on, Mame.
Yeah.
From your background, Kweku mentioned Bibi about say Uti Kromha. You see the world changing and they prepare for the future.
Yeah.
From your kind of wage in terms of education in this country, has the teaching and learning changed and now to prepare these kids for the future now?
You making reference to
in terms of
here or Ghana?
Here in Ghana, from your perspective, I just want you to share a bit of experience in terms of Sana, Oche and Koradi, maybe compared 10 years ago or maybe even 8 years ago, the way I'm Oche and Koradi, is it the same? And I say the way I know my Sano Sana Etiana.
Well, I mean, that I didn't go to school from primary Ewohad, so and it will be difficult to know when it was, around that time. But my suspicion is, obviously, there has been advancement of the introduction of ICT into the teaching and learning. What it is now, every teaching and learning there is, I think, embedment of ICT into that. And obviously math skills, and so the issue regarding STEM is very much the base of the way teaching and learning goes. In the classroom itself, as you will probably know, there are computers all over the place. Every class have access to the computer, access to the internet. So the access of information, for example, is not a difficulty. The students themselves are technological very much aware in terms of even having access to the sort of resources that are needed. So in teaching and learning, if I want to set up, for example, a homework to a student, I don't necessarily have to give them homework on paper. The homework can be accessed while they are home electronically through, and I'm sure you know about the OneDrive, the Microsoft system that runs the OneDrive system, the Moodle, as a software base where you can have resources and the students can access them from home. Depending on the sort of software that you use, a lot of these schools, colleges, they have their own means. But the point I think I'm trying to further and say, the base at which we are now has always, there is always that constant change and constant embedding of ICT into teaching and learning. And every single year you will have even the teachers that goes to this sort of, we have these trainings that you go on to see very much different ways that you can embed that into to make teaching become. Now the exposure is not only about even the teachers' access to this knowledge in terms of how they can use that, but how students can actually also get to know how they can use different ways of learning. It was fantastic that last time I was listening to a podcast on someone that was talking a bit about technology, about how future the learning will take place, and the use of the metaverse. I'm not sure if you know much about metaverse. Is where the virtual learning, you will be placed into a virtual learning situation and you can actually interact in a real life of how things are. So for example, if you want to learn history, the metaverse will be there. You go into the history
to the future
and then interact with what is happening. Facebook is trying to design, they're actually developing that now. So it will become, education will go into that sort of direction where they're going to tap into that. Because I remember when we went to some time back, we didn't even think say it is possible to be teaching students whilst they are home. You know, the internet, Microsoft Teams was already in existence around that. Zoom was already in existence around that time, but that technology wasn't actually necessarily used in education as. And then suddenly the pandemic happened, and then education straight away
tap into
how can we, you know, continue working, continue teaching. And then Teams has become quite norm now. Nowadays, we hardly have meetings face to face. We do have meetings face to face, but there are a lot of meetings that we don't actually have them face to face anymore. We move most of them on Teams. So it moves with time. The whole and that is why when I heard what Facebook is trying to do, Meta they call them now, is trying to me, because I know that is a sort of generation that we're going to move on. We young with the things that we are interacting now, it will be fading out, you know, and things will move on into the real virtual world that you have your screen on. You are actually placed in an environment where you're learning, let's say, about Aristotle, and then Aristotle is sitting there, and then you can interact with Aristotle and about what he's saying. And even if you learn in physics, you know, the real life of how you learn these things will transform, and they will change.
Is it not? I don't know whether any of you, I'm kind of got smart because of obviously since the lockdown. Hardly a lot of people obviously teaching and learning, no, obviously go school, but it's possible, say, you don't even have to be in front of students and it will happen. And I'm asking myself, say, and even in the West, you know, that was not what was happening until say lockdown by, and people reacted, organization, different ejuma or school, different sectors tapped into it, and work was normal. To the extent that I got few friends that you guys know as well who work from home. Actually, they're even working more. They are doing, they are more productive as much as they also looking after spending time with their family. And I'm beginning to think that during the lockdown, how many Ghanaian organizations were able to utilize the situation, you know, to turn things around? I remember, say, my one of my family member now of na teacher, how much saying WhatsApp, Emma, parents, na krana work, but it wasn't that there was something that they started doing, but teacher nice as individuals, no, but it's not something that's been set up to give to the school to do. It's maybe someone who say, if there should be another, how are we going to cope? As Ghanaians, not Ghana for a Wokroma, Ghana, no. How are we going to cope? Can we even, I know we are not competing with the West, but sometimes it's good to have some form of comparison. How are we going to cope in terms of moving from where we are to that? Because say you catch it up, but as the CC no gap no widen na air widen, you know, say yeah, 1,000 meters, almost 50 meters. With day time, no, and for me, it looks a bit scary in every sector of our lives. I don't know, Kweku, what's your thought on this?
I mean, interesting. I was listening to Sammy when he was making the comments like, in future, when you are learning physics or history, you will be there. And then you will see, I mean, people who want to attend Michael Jackson's concert can still attend Michael Jackson's concert, even though he's dead.
But me no, sir, I didn't mean me. I didn't know what show or many now. The 3D. Is it not something similar? I've seen a lot of videos.
They started a generation of some of these things.
And then on their command, and you see this.
When Avatar.
When Avatar.
Then after then I went to the cinema watch Avatar, and you feel the experience of watching it feels as if you're actually in the movie.
Yes.
You know, and I was listening to, and I understand why Mark Zuckerberg decided that he wanted to invest a lot of money into the metaverse, you know, to start thinking about, because he wants to be the person that started it. Now, do you know, say, people have started buying properties in the metaverse.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so they buying assets. They are buying assets in there now.
Can you imagine?
That maybe 10 years.
And it's more expensive than.
Of course, 10 years down the line.
And
they actually, because I watched some of the adverts on that, and the companies that are here have bases, shops in the metaverse where they are advertising what they're selling.
Yes.
So you actually there, you interacting in the, and you go into the shops and you can, like you're in the real world,
and even like the area you stay.
That is the sort of thing that they're moving us into now. And I don't know how it's going to be. I mean, whether it might probably totally transform into something quite different. But I mean, where it fascinates me with is where the teaching and learning aspect of it. Because you see, me, for example, my learning is very much of I won't say I'm a tactile learner that I need to feel it, but I learn a lot of concepts when I can actually relate to those concepts. Very photographic in nature, can see what I'm actually learning. It makes my learning much easier. And there are a lot of people that learn very visual in nature, so seeing the thing. So this would transform totally, if it actually happens like that, it will transform totally the way that KCV interact in things that you teach them and how they actually learn it. Because wouldn't it be fascinating that, let's say I'm learning Newton's law of motion, and I am struggling to relate to what Newton means by his law of motion, and I can actually go to Newton and then see what Newton is making reference to, and maybe ask Newton questions about, so Newton, why the 3 laws of motion? Why did you? I'm just using as an example.
But Sammy, you're not far from the truth. What you are saying is what is happening now, and that is, it's even going to get better in future, because as you are saying, Newton is not dead, even though he's dead. and sometimes I get scared, because who will be saved? When it gets to this time, who will say? The reason why I'm saying this is, you are a teacher and I drive. Okay. You and a computer, who will be able to teach children very well?
The computer certainly will. I mean, AI is more intelligent than because AI will not make a mistake. It will remember everything. But you see, I think where they also, the importance
need a human touch.
Yeah, because when you're normally interacting with these things, the emotional aspect of the human element that can make judgment. Yes, you might be right. The AI can actually sense things, and they can make adjustments to the way they actually teach. But teaching is still going to be there to do the direction aspect of it. Maybe the part that you will be expected to remember everything as a teacher might not be relevant anymore, because everything that you need to remember is there. It's just as the calculator would have
Alexa
done the job for you.
Yeah, you see,
exactly.
Siri.
you see what I am imagining, right? Like we are talking, it's just coming into my mind. Like, you go to school, you have the board like a screen, and then somebody starts talking. Guys, today, good morning. Good morning. You can't see him, but you can see the pen on the board. Then the pen will write, today, this is our topic, and then he will underline it. Even though the person is not there, but he's talking to you, they are writing everything on the board, and the person can see all of you in the class, and they go, hey, what are you doing over there? Stop misbehaving, even though the person is not standing in front of the people. So these are some of the things that you can see is gonna happen. I think about it as who is really going to be saved. We know that even if these things are going to take effect, it's going to take a very long time. But if you compare the rate at which these things are happening, and if you want to estimate the time it will be in full galore to the speed at which we are getting to understand technology back home now, the speed from the Western world is more of
They're on a highway,
and we are
on the
just
feeder
still
road.
exactly. So with us, and look, I say some of these things because all these things that they are doing, it boils down to trying to save the planet so that people can live in the next future. Who will be accepted to live in the planet? As we sit here, you can say, oh, they can't do that. They can never say who will be accepted to live in this planet, because this planet was created by God. You said something about greener way of living, and this is the whole thing. They want to save the planet, and if you want to find out, if we want to save the planet, then we have to find out the greatest polluters of the planet. Then we can start tackling the problem from there to save the planet, isn't it?
Just there's something that sometimes we overlook. The issue of green and living green is in itself an industrial revolution that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you see, what the Americans are trying to do now, which of course the British is also, and most of the countries in the West, is, and perhaps not in the short term, but in the perhaps medium to long term, where technology is going to be moving towards making things which are more greener, and they are taking ahead of. And that's why sometimes I pity China, because even though China is at a point where they are actually really catching up and perhaps maybe go overtake, if the West decides that they want to move on to, and which is what they are doing now, and start looking at technology where now things that we'll have to do have to be greener. By the time that what you are dominating now, it becomes very obsolete.
Irrelevant.
It becomes very, very obsolete, very relevant, because they would have gone into that world already, and they will force that now on you. So you have a situation where there's a new industrial revolution going on, and you're actually really, really behind.
Chase it.
And you have to chase everything to match up what they're doing. And that's what they're doing now. Because if you look at when they came up with the issues regarding diesel, now, I'm sure you know, next year, diesel in London is going to be compulsory everywhere in London. So you have to pay everywhere in London that you move on to. You also say, why are they doing that? They're now trying to remove the cars that use diesel. So 20 years down the line, diesel is no more, petrol is no more.
It's not because they want to remove it to punish,
but
it's the same on the greener.
Oh yeah, of course. But then
path,
the greener path is a path of revolutionary, trying to industrialize in a very totally different way. Yeah. Because when you do that, you force everyone to move into the direction that you want them to move in. And who is the one controlling that direction? You, because you're coming up with products that are within those industries that you want. With the electric cars, and as an example, electric that, electric this, electric that. So you create a new employment, new industry, and everyone have to catch up.
84 and that topic and it is very, very interesting. It's a bit kind of not a typical awareness show, but sometimes some of these things we cannot do away with it. We have to, because whether we like it or not, it's something that is going to affect us. It has already started affecting us, so it's about time we start addressing them. This year, I see technology. If you come to a place like United Kingdom, education system has changed. The way we shop has changed. The way we bank has changed. The way we go to work has changed. Everything has changed. Even to the extent that the way we do radio has changed. The way we broadcast television has changed. Now, what is interesting is that, as JC rightly said, they said there is even a greater impact. So we started with the education system right from the beginning at the kindergarten, reception, primary school. These kind of technologies are being embedded in their education. But what we need to think about, and Ghana as a leadership needs to focus on, is to look at what the future is, so that we can be marketable. Because at the moment, if the big boys the big giants, they come together and they advance. Yeah, it will just be a little drop of water which it can be engulfed. Some could or say on a the Osurani say a beka crown, a beka says somebody needs to be eliminated. Now or see some say one specific, but say we are Pajemba, Obehununi or Pelco, in my own so Africa, and to be specific Ghana, we need to look at the way I educate and call for. I personally me Barbara train and me be who grapes. Meanwhile, na biology, mesua grapes, esua and yoma bebra is very common, but I've never touched it. I've never seen it because I was learned from abstract. Are we still using the CCNM system? And I used to Ghana. And right now, no, a year Ghana Education Service, no, almost about sunny beam. Now the exam board, no, I think so right from primary school to secondary school, and I think that there will be 2 years. They are proposing so obey exam 2 years from JSS to secondary school, no. And you may be a honor, ma, my ye, na yen to me and because some of these things, no, a dear be a MYA. Now, ready a boy in future for us to be more marketable. But your old team baby, free and out here free. I would like to know your thought. Do you think that we are driving or striving in the right direction? I would like to know what is going on in wherever you are. Number 0208 144 8773 0208 144 8773. Naminta Wonka. Back to the story. I'll say how Gabi and Akufo-Addo's brother called majority leader on how to shoot down minority censure motion. And semi him the call so a year Gabi a call parliament and you may say or say according to it calls to be ebe baby ba a ho just say enya dia a cool ye emma a penny for the majority leader say chairman Sabunzo has revealed how President Akufo-Addo's brother Bamtiko Akufo-Addo and Gabi Asari Ochoridako called him to shoot down the censure motion against Ken Oforiatta in Parliament. According to him, the two had called him to discuss the censure motion by the minority against the finance minister, and he assured them that he will be able to handle it. He said even though Gabi failed to call him through his mobile phone, but rather through that of his deputy, Alexander Afenyo Martin, he assured them he will be able to knock it down. I don't know what Gabi Ochoridako hold against me. I was in Parliament when he, Gabi, called with Akufo-Addo's brothers Bamti and we spoke. For whatever reason, he didn't call me on my phone, but through my deputy leader phone and spoke to them about what I was doing to manage what we had. So I told them to leave that to me and told them I know how to manage it because I knew the NDC Central. I think technically we can knock it down. So he should allow me to handle it. Oseche Bonsu was speaking on the recent interview with Kumasi-based Sempa FM, where he expressed anger over some allegation leveled against him by Gabi Ochoridako. According to the Member of Parliament of Swami, Mr. Ochoridako had wrongly accused him of being a mastermind behind the MPP MPs demanding the sacking of Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta. From nowhere, we hear Gabi Ochoridako is on his Asasi radio station accusing me of instigating what was happening. But what? What do I stand to gain from that? He reported. The majority leader questioned the authority of the finance minister's cousin for leveling such allegation against him. I don't know, gentlemen, which one of you would like to pick this story up? We are in him said that there's fire on the mountain on the MPP camp. A year. This story, I think we started about a week or so ago. These kind of allegations, were you surprised to hear that? Now, how comes, according to your statement, Gabi, I'm free or no one? Because do you think there's something going on, or what could have actually be the cause, Sammy?
Well, Gabi is a very controversial guy, and he's always been the presidency of the Nana Akufo-Addo. He's always been one of those guys that it's like a Marmite sort of thing. You either you love him or you're gonna hate him. There are a lot of people when you listen to actually you read some comments that sometimes when he makes comments on Twitter and then the you know badge criticisms that you have coming. I mean, people have made these assumptions. Well, not assumptions. People have made these statements. He's actually one of the people that is making the government really unpopular in terms of the way he actually behaves and the way he acts. And there are some people within the New Patriotic Party that feel say he's basically playing the role of a de facto prime minister. And sometimes actually, if you look at the way Nanahemaa economy, because sometimes when government is going to come up with some new announcements, Gabi is the one that kind of tests the waters, tweets things to see how people react to that. He plays the role of the dirty cleaner, sort of thing, and try to gauge, people's anger or for that matter, or for specific government policy. So he's been a thorn in the flesh of a lot of people that basically don't like his demeanor and his body language. So I wasn't surprised if you asked the question about how Osechi Mensah was the minority leader, because I think the allegation was to the effect that Gabi was making some weird comments about him, that he actually is the one that is instigating the removal of Ken Oforiatta, because Osechi Mensah wants to be become the finance minister. And of course, obviously, Mensah have refuted that claim, and he's came up very strongly. I mean, when you hear in the same camp, people having a go at each other, it kind of surprised me a lot, Nana, because this is very much common rather in the West. In Ghana politics, you hardly see, people within the same government. Yeah, it does happen, but not to the scale that it has happened in Nana Addo's government. And quite recently, it's actually been the echoing of people's resentment, and to the extent that the members of parliament, 80 of them, is it 80, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That came out very strongly, to request or ask for
80%.
No, about 80 of them.
80 members.
80 members requesting the finance minister to step down. That is unprecedented. That sort of dissent in the camp of a ruling government is very unprecedented. But again, that tells you things are not right, not only within parliament, but within the government itself, within the new Patriotic Party, there is a lot of dissent going on. People feel, the incompetency, as they term it, of the finance minister is one of the things that making where we are now. I listened to him, Nana, when he was he went to the ad hoc committee for the 7 allegations that were, those allegation charges that were brought against him in parliament, and asking the opposition, asking for his removal. And I listened to some of the answers that he has. His whole body language, there's a bit of arrogance sometimes in him, and he feels like he hasn't actually done anything. He feels always that he's actually in the right in some of the policies that he felt in his. So he actually believes, when you listen to
about
the finance minister, he actually believes he's actually, right in some of the policies that he introduced. When you listen to him, it's just unfortunate. But I find it quite not strange per se. The opposition within opposition, within government, of how he has carried himself. And I think he himself, he should now start reflecting and start thinking about, perhaps you did what you think is best, but it's actually not good enough, and maybe it's about time for you to step down and give the mantle to someone else who perhaps or try their best as well. I mean, the whole thing, the fights, the argument, the whole thing tells you the government has basically run out of ideas. And for me personally, because I mean we know democracy implies that we need to give them up to the 2 years. I think yes, we have to give them up to the whole government. I believe they need to be voted out to try something fresh. You know, I know people have their own views about whether President Mahama is competent enough to be the one leading, but unfortunately for us, as a country, there's only two dominant parties. And if the opposition they decide that they're going to go with the former president, it's unfortunate that we don't have any other choice than to go with the former president. And to be quite honest with you, Nana, if you look on record, yes, we have two bad apples, but one is actually good to eat. The other one is actually really bad. We can't eat it. So maybe the alternative might not look promising, but the alternative might probably be the best choice that you have, as a country. So Nana, there's a lot that is going on within the party. I was actually quite surprised when the 80 MPs that I hear say they, wanted him out. They actually even allowed, because they came out eventually to say they were allowing to present the budget statement. And after that, obviously they're not going to support him again. They want the finance minister to resign. But I'm still going to look and see whether the president is going to sack him, or which I know is not going to happen unless the finance minister himself decides that he's actually going to resign, which I can see also that he probably will try to, still be important in the party, because I can see him feeling, say, for him to be removed, is a precedent that he set for himself, which will not go down well in history. And history is not going to be kind to him, because he's probably going to be the first finance minister who has actually been removed from office. I don't know, isn't it? Yeah. That has ever happened to the country. It has never happened. So maybe he's trying to save, his legacy, around that, to protect his legacy in that sense.
Kwekuma member aho and nyoma bebre call so MPP causes kind of verata hunsense bebre. Do you submit on the unfold say Papa Nebe resign? The way I offer say MPP for na aba out the day cost send your mind why? Do you think say Papa obey to me I resign now?
I like the way you put the question. Do I think that Papa no obey to me I resign?
Because at some point, remember last week, the reason here maybe no, also call ad hoc way, he was talking about the past glory, and that's what the minority leaders in the country said. And we did that. The inflation was this. He gave us some statistics. And it's not more about, and he kind of leveled whatever is happening to one COVID and to we say a year war, of course, war Ukraine. And it's true, the whole world is feeling it, and it's true you can't level that against him. To some extent, that has got greater impact even in the West. And see, looking at I'm picturing where he is towing his arguments from. You could see, say, he doesn't take full responsibility of whatever is going. Rather, is more of the external forces. Plus, IMF, my whole video be meaning say one imagine I was we won't go for any video draw on one at the airport. Do you think say he'll ever resign?
Yeah, I think the video now can actually buzzer no say kwasi anense imagine. No, it's amazing. I think everybody in position Biano has been given a job to do. And one thing I have come out to understand in politics in the NSA, every year something happens. And you will be known by what you did when that thing happened. Tony Blair, they got rid of him because of Iraq war, isn't it? Now let me fast forward to Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson wasn't sacked because we are say because he was taking the necessary decisions. They were making very good decisions, actually. So he was popular for the economy. The problem was people saying, say, he's a liar. Now, who said, say, Boris Johnson is a liar? How did they know he was lying? How did they find out? And how did he come to accept, say, okay, all right, okay, if you are saying I'm lying, then it means I'm lying, so I'm going, or we'll force you to get out. There's something happening in our country whereby certain people in position think, say, they are unique.
Untouchable.
They are untouchable. When we come to finance minister, he resigned from his own company, which is Data Bank. The basis for his his resignation was as a result of his health. So he couldn't manage. If this guy has resigned from his own company based on health reasons, what makes you think you can run Ghana with the same health issues? Why? Why should we even allow him to take over a bigger challenge when he has resigned from a smaller challenge based on his health issues? Okay. And one, if you listen to Ken Oforiatta when he went to the ad hoc committee, Nana, I watched the whole thing and I thought, say, look, Ghana, we are doomed.
What makes you think so?
All the charges that were leveled against this guy, for the fact that this guy spoke about them, that ends the investigation into what he said. And now people are saying, say, he's even done better than what they were expecting him to do. And if you look at all the things that are being said about Ken Oforiatta, you think, oh, he's been vindicated by sending him to the ad hoc committee. So you know what the ad hoc committee has done? Now he's gone to the ad hoc committee, come out to look even better than when he was. Because now people are saying, oh yeah, he's done well, he's done this, he's done that. What has he done? The economy is still in a bad shape. The city is still depreciating based on decisions that this government has taken. And you are in charge of those decisions that were made. How are you saying, say, if we are saying to extend, say, you can't take any blame of your decision, because your decision, all the decision that you people have taken, are perfect. Then they come out to say, okay, now we want to change the way we deal with issues. Now we are going to pay the importation of crude oil into the country with gold. Why didn't you take these decisions earlier? Why? If these things will work, why didn't you tell us earlier? Why now? It means at a point, you've made certain decisions that has made the country to go far back based on the outside factors that are affecting the country. You have to own up a little bit. And I think, like Sammy said, if you look at Ken Oforiatta, Gabriel Chodakun, you look at Nana Addo, there's something that run in common among them. And everybody sees some sort of arrogance that goes on among Omunina almost. So me asking me, I think Ken Oforiatta will resign. Nana, Ken Oforiatta will not resign. Look, if they force Ken Oforiatta to leave his position now, right, he will become the chief advisor to the president. And that will even be worse. Because there's no way Nanado will sacrifice Ken Oforiatta. But the fact, Nene said, what at all is there apart from the reputation? But some of you say that his name is going to go down as the first finance minister who was forced out. How long has Ken Oforiatta got to live?
Yeah, he's trying to protect his name.
Protect it than when he is gone.
Posterity, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Posterity will say his children come in. You know, these people, they think about Because look at someone like you honestly don't think this guy that the corrupt the alleged corrupt one.
Which one?
Chas Edubuan, yeah.
When his dad was doing all the campaigning and calling JJ Ashawoba and all of that. Yeah. You didn't think he was thinking he wanted a legacy where his child can also become president one day. He wanted that, wouldn't he? And this is what we witnessed in where it turns into some kind of how do you even call it? This is a political terminology where children inherit their dads. Yeah. So you have this situation, and this guy is a deputy finance minister, as corrupt as alleged corrupt as he is. And one day he will be eyeing the presidency as well. So these guys, they and I don't blame them for thinking like that, because everyone wants their children to do well, isn't it? So he wants to protect an image where when he is gone, his children will not suffer what he is basically has suffered. And therefore, and that's how I'm saying, I see these things, the way sometimes they behave, and they are, of course, they know they're not going to live long, but they want their name to be protected. Where the name will constantly be reminded in our head, just as Nkrumah has been reminded in our. But some of these things are things that people, somebody like Nkrumah, as selfless as he is, Nkrumah made a name for himself, not because he forced it on us, but it's because of his deeds and the things that his vision and the things that is done. But the sort of leadership that we have in now, they're trying to force and impose what the narrative should be. And him, for example, Oforiatta, for example, doesn't want to leave a legacy where the narrative is going to be his crap, because that leads into his children.
Something like
exactly become quite negative, and that's what he's trying to protect.
Are you also thinking, maybe there's a Achimota forest in his will, and he thinks when he
we can only find out at the end.
Account proverb says that when something died, then you see how long they are. So there we are.
Wait there, it's here for someone himself. You must soon be almost so now week in, week out. You did you medie bro. It's mean you were feeding no uncle baby. I'll be right back in your ways.
Hi, good people. So let me introduce to you the new app and service in town. It is the OGB Ride. If you're thinking a private car to any destination, OGB Ride is the new app. Well, for your comfort, for your security. Now, there are categories like the comfort ride, the taxi ride, and the luxury ride. Now, you want to download the app today. Patronized, made in Ghana. It is by the people, for the people. If you're thinking development and jobs for young people, OGB Ride is the thing. This is our own. So download the app today and you won't regret it.
OGB Ride, OGB Ride, OGB Ride, OGB Ride. Yeah. See, OGB Casting Advisory is what you need.
Are you looking for business solutions that will serve your needs? Look no further, because Caston Advisory is all you need. Caston Advisory is a unique advisory firm that provides specialized solutions in tax and business planning, audit and assurance services, company secretarial services, corporate advisory, corporate training, tax policy advisory, charity registration and accounting, gift aid for churches and charitable organizations. Our understanding and industry experience provides a cutting-edge software solution tailor-made for your firm. Locate Caston Advisory in the UK, Suite 4, the Generator Business Center, 95 Miles Road, Meacham, Surrey, CR4 3FH, or call us in the UK on 020-840-81520 or 078-867-15702, or email us at info@castongroup.com. And in Ghana, locate Caston Advisory Suite 5, the first floor of the Zerka Plaza, Tetegu Junction, Southeast Ranger off the Kaswa Highway, or call 0249-700-075. Caston Advisory, the delivery of excellence redefined.
Casting Advisory is what you need.
Joe, now I'm here.
And then about
Share. When you oh my Ghana, you share OGB Ride. So could be to Bunkum, Nifa, Esro, any form. Nina OGB Ride. A yai, and your tea, OGB Ride, and why?
and your china. Why? I mean,
Any that.
me the Pierre, and one.
Trinity Driving School, your #1 driving school in the UK.
Did you know that they're equipped with professional driving instructors who will teach you to pass your test with ease?
So, if you want to pass your test, please look no further.
Contact Trinity Driving School on 07507 116997.
Trinity, safe and responsible driving.
Radio. I love this station.
Yo, it's here for welcome back. Just to let you know, so if you just tune in, this is WhatsApp Radio, awareness Jumedie, and now Wasugusua Utie, and just to reiterate, Sisi a ride be abagana so Utie and your friend OGB or my Ghana Baku ride. Where Ghana for Omowa Quentio, as you heard from the advert, they've come together and a bit like Uber and the Kika Kakahono or my not the most important thing is way a very, very cheap. Very, very cheap, both for the driver and for the passenger. And it's when you download you from your Android or your iPhone, look Play Store, to me I download it either as a driver, as a passenger. Now to me I enjoy a ride. No, at the moment is mostly predominantly in Accra and Kumasi. So when you problem be so free and also messages studio line and we'll be able to link you up. Nah, yeah, the help or no. If you call things at the moment, there's discount going on to go and grab it, have a ride, and we're gonna with OGB ride. Ye DNA. One and I just no pepe ye DNA. And see just before we left na ye can Gabiotre that Connie dear cost within the MPP quarters. Some my members, CCI corruption, yeah, fight corruption, a year auditors are more Ghana CCI, sa corruption, yeah, DPR. We need to crunch on nine for big sanctions, Embra and Kofua. They are Ombenya say define shots. It was Sadian, and no beboa or more amomejuma no I pepe because Kamia say even auditors nipo omoko baby na say omoko say and your man ko ya there is not enough sanction bia and ma nipano. Inti ano eboa ema omejuma no aye den pa. It's what they are as proposing is a yemma bigger sanctions. Emra na say you who say obi e disike bi a organization be a bind here or whatever sikeni kwan say a bottle bonimua na say auditors nko to me who dia then we need to put up a bigger sanction as a scapegoat and a bear or move to me ama sa corruption to me so say me I know say obviously you're not going to say it's a bad way, but how are we going to make this come to life Ghana?
I was actually trying to look at the surcharges now. Because this is not something that is actually new in terms of the suggestion of it. I don't remember if you remember Ukai Domilevo. Kufuado eka so onye ejuma ye meanwhile nim so ejuma no ye ni ye opam oyi ne dina because onye osafuma for enya clashes. He actually used this this law that was actually the power that was given to the attorney auditor general's department issues of some of these misappropriation of fund and all of that, these surcharges. And I remember there was quite a lot of money that he did retrieve. I don't have the figures from that. So the suggestion itself, is something that is actually there. I guess what this lady was trying to imply is maybe to broaden it, to maybe make it much more broader from the perspective of maybe the ordinary worker. I don't know if that's what she meant. So, for example, if it is established there, a department or an office, and the head of department has misappropriated fund now, then that sort of sanction, whether it's a financial sanction, should be imposed on that specific individual that is in the head of the department. I don't know, maybe that is a direction that she's trying to move into in terms of the debate, which will be interesting, if that is what the suggestion is, because the law in itself to charge people for corruption or what is it? This on the jelly Victor Solomon any financial loss to the state. That law in itself is already there. If it leads, unless if corruption in itself, we have law for corruption. If your practices, and just say any law did that. But I guess if Ono is trying to imply, say, we now need to broaden the scope of surcharging to make it more very unattractive for specific individuals within government, not necessarily within public service or the civil service that have supposedly misappropriated fund or found to be corrupt now. Now you're in charge of that financial burden, just as we do, even though I wouldn't necessarily say it is an issue of corruption, but if I run into a traffic light and it's red and I run into a traffic light and the light no chimia, they impose what financial sanction on me. They hit your pocket so hard, say you think twice, and sana, you commit such an offense again. Quite recently, and me personally, it happened to me. I was driving, and I wasn't driving in the speed that I said me driving, and unfortunately, there was a financial penalty that was posed for me. I've learned my lessons. And now when I'm driving on the motorway, I'm super, super careful that I don't hit a specific limit. So all the time, these things, they do work. Or when you hit people in their pockets now, it does work. It does send the signal, because no one wants to be losing money, So meaning whether this is the direction that she thinks, that she's suggesting, we should be going, which will be not far-fetched from, trying to, help the situation of corruption. But now say the difficulty of imposing these sort of not imposing, the difficulty of the monitoring or managing these things, is in itself a challenge because you have to place sanction. It's an administrative issue where you need to have department that can enforce that administratively to make sure the person is actually being surcharged and that is compounded, the increase in the jail term, the issue comes in. So it will be interesting to see how these sort of things can be implemented. I guess maybe that's what she's trying to suggest.
I don't know whether Kweku will want to add a bit to what Sami has just added.
Sami, Nana, is there any day we can meet on the radio and everything we will be saying will not be geared towards corruption? Because that is the only thing that because it's so fantastic in Africa. Sami says something in his introduction. He says Domelovo was sacked because they claim that he was not doing the job, even though we know that he was doing the job. How do you measure things like that to say that look, the guy who is really doing the job, they got rid of him, and they say he's not doing the job, and people who also go toe lines with the narrative that is being said about the guy. Now, when it comes to corruption, I always have the opinion say, before we can fight corruption, the laws are there. Young people don't have to be ready. Say they want to get rid of. Look, it should be said, any president that comes, you become corruption once in the year, then you have to accept say what fail. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't be when we mention, especially we find people in your government who are doing it. You have to know so.
Are we ready for that?
We are not.
It's unfortunate. Not and just I read another African country here, Ejeli, one of their parliamentarians, purely because Nipano mishandling or causing financial state. and this is a parliamentarian, kind of vice president. Make sure in a bar.
I think it's a Malawi vice president.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting, say Ghana. How many times she said, "Papaya obedi sika bibi sa this year cry."
You know, I don't know. Look, there's a story. One of the papers. Now, as we're talking about corruption in Africa, Ghana, to be specific. Opunvia. Yeah. Apparently, his son
play for the US team.
Is playing for the US team. Okay, the president, his son is an American and he's playing for the US team. Now, over here in Liberia, Liberia is paying their president $2,000 every single day that this man goes to watch the World Cup. I mean, you just tell me how sensible it is.
They are paying him for watching the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, he's the president. He's left the country. He's got some money that have to look for his outkeep. But he's just there.
It's costing them.
It's costing them. Let me say.
But when you say they are paying,
I thought, it's costing them $2,000 every single day, right, to watch the match. This man is in America watching them.
That is interesting. You know, talking about corruption, and we talked about. Remember, we were talking about in this studio, the past ex gratia for our parliamentarian. And your mom, now this week here, sorry, it's pie, and it's all because at one of our biggest hospitals in Ghana, here Confanochi Teaching Hospital, ASU no warita, and whether 4 years and 8 years the whole time, no, you already in way now just say why Juma Kasankasa. Now the retirement package, it has raised a lot of eyebrows, not with the public domain, by a hospital staff. It's here for I'll just read a little bit about it. Also the more interception of the Ghana Home directed by the hospital director of the Finance and Human Resource to comply as received from the board. This means that retired CEO, whilst on retirement, will be paid every month his basic salary and all benefits he used to enjoy while serving as a Confanochi Teaching Hospital Chief Executive Officer. The memo cited further explained that the hospital director of finance should pay the retired CEO his 8 months of supposed accumulation leave effectively 2nd November 2022 to July 2023. Through this instruction from the board, the retired plastic surgeon will be paid his basic salary, payments in lieu of accommodation rates of the maintenance and kilometric allowance while he uses his personal vehicle, responsibility allowance, which is of 50% of his basic salary, 20% entertainment allowance, house help, garden boy, and night watchman. The memo further added his free medical and dental care, utility service should be equally be paid for. And this goes on and on and on. And I think that people and the staff of Confanochi already right now, what they are saying is that Papa not doing his turn at office, enjoy BBL also enjoy. Now they ain't all call retirement, all this package, including meanwhile, the hospital is suffering. Sometimes we be to say gloves to protect themselves, staff they don't have it. So why putting such huge sums of money or be a when can a pension pay? This is the extra way. And if we're looking at, do you consider this as corruption or is a white collar? I don't know. Do you think it's right?
I mean, you see the story. If you go deeper into it, there's some bit of a aspect of it that needs to be very clear. And I'll tell you what. When we say the subject of the story is about accumulated leave, Okay, that is what the subject of this story is. The issue of his entitlements, as whatever he's going to enjoy, is as a result of the main problem that this story basically suggests: accumulated leave. I struggle, Nana, say in an economy or in a country where it's more development, shy and referred to as a developing country.
Yeah.
Still have a system, very archaic system in a way where people can actually accumulate leave for so many years that they actually haven't claimed those leave, and then they can put all together and decide on when they want to take those leave. So this specific story, is a general problem, and I don't want to blame the gentleman himself, because now he lives in a system where he allows these things to happen, where someone can make a decision, say, because he knew he was going on retirement, but and he knew also, say, if he can go on early retirement, still enjoy, go on retirement, still enjoy the process of what the supposed accumulated leave is in terms of the remuneration.
But it's minimum for more government institution at the end of the year, making. If you don't take your leave, you lose it.
But that's the point I'm making. Say their institution allow this, and there are a lot of institutions in Ghana that allows this. People accumulate leave for a long period of time, and then they go together. Domino was asked to leave. He very, very similar fashion, where they say he hasn't actually taken his leave for a long time. They brought him together and said, now your time of retirement is up because you didn't take the And these things is happening. So yes, you can blame the board for allowing this to happen, but it's a systematic problem where people have allowed, because we share what they are saying. If he's entitled to that money now, he's entitled to it, because why? The accumulated leave now, the system allows him not to go. No, you have to pay him for that. So in itself, the whole problem that is, so I struggle to see why people in Kofu, if they want to put a blame on not the man, they have to put a blame on the board.
That is what they challenging the board.
The man in himself, no dear. I mean, the board allows this because this is what has been happening. It's not only Kompanochi teaching us with. Now, if you go to Kolebu, you're probably going to see very similar stories. If you go to the ministries, very similar stories of these things that is happening. The way friend said, if I minister went to Parliament, we had the budget statement, and most of the things that he was talking about austerity, that we want to cut on expenditure, because obviously it's not their liking that they want to cut on expenditure, because it's IMF, part of the IMF deal that they have to do is to cut on expenditure. They are looking at areas that they want to cut on expenditure, and this is a mixed opportunity to try and reduce some of these burdens, because I still don't understand why it is a case there. Met my Juma for 10 years for a company. 1 year, 2 year, 3, me decide to call leave because me say me have community leave no. Now me used to live for a period of time. And when I'm needed now, then I go on my accumulated leave and I'm not productive and I'm gone and I'm enjoying salary and I'm there. The whole structure of the way they've done it is so wrong. And that is one of the problems that we are facing. You know, why our wage bill constantly goes up.
And this is a structural problem.
It is a structural problem. Yeah. You know, it's a structural problem which is surfacing. And it's surfacing in a way where it kind of makes it look as if, say, the individual who is benefits from it is actually the person who is actually corrupt. But it's actually not the case like that. But it's the way structurally we are still living. Because that system, no, the British used to run it long time ago. Nobody runs this sort of system anymore. Well, to me, decided, if you take your one for leave and shake,
they'll even tell you, you have to take it before maybe not December.
Before a specific time. So one far.
That's it.
One far shit. And it is so you force people to you know to so
but is it not interesting? Even is it not interesting, like if this is happening within the health sector? One might think, say, within the health sector, no, they look at the mental health and the stability and the fact that somebody, you can't work continuously without break. And itself, no, for me, no, it marvels me that this has been allowed to be happening in our health system. Does it not marvel you, Kweku?
Shocking though. I mean, strange. If you look at the whole thing, like Sami is saying, if you look at the system now, if that is how it is, it means the guy hasn't really committed any crime. Now, maybe problem kakra maybe war on say. If you look at it now, the guy is the CEO.
Yes.
And the board is there. So what influence has this guy over the board?
Well, I mean, by rules of he doesn't have, because the board make a decision.
Yeah.
And the board will say, okay, you are entitled to, you are not entitled to. But of course, we know how these things work. You know, situations where the board is a friend of the CEO. They go to the beer club and sit together, have conversation and chat, and then so everyone looks after the other person. For all you know, and this is me just saying without any evidence, this accumulated money, when he gets the money, somebody is there to benefit from that. So you see, the whole but you see, this thing happens because the system allows this to happen. You know, if the system doesn't allow this to happen, it wouldn't happen. But
and this goes down to the same corruption we are talking about.
Well, the system itself is designed in a way. The system is designed in a way
corruption.
It enables, because they say become an enabler of corruption. Because if you don't try to remove this, to tighten things up, now we're gonna have this serious problem. Now, suddenly they now realize that Ufurata and the government now realize that there is no need for you to drive V8 in Accra.
Yes. Exactly. All of us.
Yes.
All this. They didn't know this.
Meanwhile, this thing is being talked. Even when Mama was in power, they were the same people who were talking about it, and they came and they did the same thing. Now, they don't.
Can I read this an excerpt? So the economist Dr. Theo Echampon says some of the expenditure cut measure outlined in the 2023 budget are unachievable. According to him, some of them are mere sloganeering. Dr. Theo Echampon said the freeze on the use of V8 vehicles in Accra by government appointees cannot be monitored. Speaking on the news file on Saturday, the economics also said the budget will be impose some extra hardship on Ghanaians. In a sense, the government talks about some austerity, but in my view, this is actually not austerity budget. At the central government level, it is a very much expansionary in terms of scale and scope, where we project to spend 51% more money compared to what they did in 2022 in the same time. 80. Since you have more V8, and what are they trying? So I'm packing can easy one as a day.
Almost say I read the whole thing and I laughed, Kakra. Like she is saying, it will be difficult for anybody to monitor the V8 because the way they did it, they said unless you are traveling from, they didn't say package crowd. They said unless you are traveling from
outside,
exactly. Who are crowd there, you can't use it. But when you are going to ABR,
Kumasi,
what about Cape Coast? What about your bro saying
Eastern region?
That's what.
Kaswa Chihon, your bro. Mankasim.
Yeah.
Mankasim ne Kaswa in Bomo, right? If we were MP now or Kaswa, you're Mankasim, you're not part of Accra. You can drive your vehicle. I
mean, okay, that could be justified. You're doing a long journey, so maybe make it safe.
No, but I mean, from Mankasim to Accra, it wouldn't take you 1.5 hours to get to.
But even the idea that they pay for it, right? Or these ones are given to.
No, you see, sometimes they get some of the cars are given to them for their duties, and sometimes they buy some of them as well. Yeah. But the problem is the fuel.
Yeah,
they are allowed to draw fuel for free.
Mm.
Yeah, and therefore, is there a limit to even the fuel that you draw?
No, they don't.
Me name Obi me Ghana like 2 years ago. Then I went to a salon. Na me koye miti. Na me oho na oba bi buy na onu so ba salon ho so ba be niti. No buy any kind or divesi no me am if you are rich no na my small gra na kasa no ane no mutono we dey say usha ni kunu ye penny say ni kunu ze ni bibi ye penny John on to fuel. It's your fuel ne come on I didn't say your fuel ni na uti as vum now ko na mpes me kwan bi on my main call right kakra.
There's systematic problems that we have in terms of procurement, even procurement, the way I mean some of these things that we refer to allowances that people get. I mean, how is it the case? And the CEO is 50%. Getting 50% responsibility allowance,
entertainment allowance
on pay, and then it cuts across. You see, it's not only the people at the top, even people working, ordinary people that are working are getting some serious allowances. That sometimes I work here. I never get any allowance for my clothing or get allowance for petrol, fuel,
tire allowance.
I don't get any of those things, I mean, there are things that you enjoy as a result of your work, but then there are sort of things that are discounted that you have to go and buy.
Exactly.
You use your
you
money
have to spend the money
to go and get them at
those discounts. Yeah. And even that it goes a long way to help the economy.
Of course,
they want
it does.
You to spend
they want to spend the money. So that there is a serious, systematic problem and structural problems that the country itself has put itself in, that it has to be very revolutionary for these sort of things to change. Because you could see why, and sometimes why these things they struggle to make those changes. Because the moment that you remove them, people's pay become as tiny and small.
They can't live,
and they can't live on that. And therefore, this is the perks that make them to be able to survive the hardship that they're going through. So it's a difficult problem,
but Kufuor changed that. When Kufuor came, he tried to restructure the payment of salaries and everything, and then they had a name for it.
I know what you mean.
They had
there was a name for it. That's what I was trying
to. They created the restructuring of salaries and
they used to the police increments.
Something span.
The single span.
Single span, correct. And they made sure that they will keep up with inflation and normal. So we thought, when it comes to salaries and normal, it's not going to be a problem. But anyway, now the fuel price is even higher than the minimum wage in the country. So we have a problem. We have a problem until we recognize that we have a problem. No, you be cut your quote according to your materials. No, we will suffer. The only problem a mass no money yet and say the lifestyle now, the so-called people who are in position almost have to look into the way now your economy could be managed and it can benefit everyone. If you look at their lifestyle now, it doesn't justify some of the things that they say. And that's why people are now taking the laws into their own hands. Now, Ukoto enamo, even enamo nimono, they put papers. Just to make the balloon.
But JD, you have to remember, these videos, I don't like making comments on them, because you see, as much as it looks true, because it is a social media video. I've seen a lot of social media videos which are actually not true. They are fake. That people put these things out there because they want to get viewing, they want to get audience. So I know the video that you're making reference to, that a woman has basically put on social media, and there's
another one with Kinky Fanti.
Exactly. I saw the Fanti Kinky one.
Yeah.
And it's not the Kinky one. Okay. The one that I can agree is the one that the guy was selling tomatoes on the roadside. And the tomatoes, he's got something in the olonka, the measurement of the and then he put the tomatoes.
Oh, that one there is especially when you go and buy rice.
They knock it push it.
But that one is accepted.
The Gary one, that one is accepted. The butter change.
That one is accepted.
Push
but it's accepted.
Well, I mean, that one we know. That one happens, but that one is not only putting the food, per se.
But let me ask
you. That one,
if you go to buy Gary, and that measurement cup, they haven't knocked the bottom, would you buy?
What do you mean?
The father said, that Olonka there.
Yeah.
If the woman bring the Olonka
and it's good,
and it's very flat.
But that means it's more Gary. So
No. But do you know that is the way it was started. Now what they do, they put something inside, so you won't see. So there is some limit. It's covered.
But if I'm going to buy Gary from you, I need to see the Olonka before.
But when you see it, it looks like it's okay.
No, how?
Oh, you don't.
Are you going to take the Olonka and look inside?
Well, if this is the Olonka,
yeah.
Of course I don't see the bottom of it, and then I look at Olonka, and I could you telling me I won't clearly see that.
No, you won't see. Let me tell you.
Unless you don't give it to me.
I think you will be busy to extend that you wouldn't pay attention. You wouldn't think, say, somebody will do
okay,
that.
Then that's fine.
Is where
but if I am very conscious and I know, say, this is what is happening, I go to the market and I want to buy my Gary because I'm going to the boarding house for my Gary and Shito. And then you bring your Gary Olonka to me, and I could see the dodginess of the Olonka. Yeah. Of course, I want to see what the Olonka, whether it's a real Olonka or not. I'm going to go Olonka like actually. The Olonka comes up like that. Then you put Gary, then the Gary is like, you bring Gary. You know, there's funny thing. When usually growing up, I remember when you go and buy rice, my mom sends you to go and buy rice, and you know that it's a minta butter change more.
Exactly.
You go. And you know, say, butter change they take serve you.
You have something at home that you
bring the rice.
Measure.
Mommy is angry at you. Yeah. Say, what rice go by there? Make a change to rice will come by low butter change because you know the thing is so small. And then the beating starts. Meanwhile, it's not you. There is the person seller that is you know.
We used to buy rice in butter cheese and milk change.
Yo, it's here for Hayana Jumedian and the basic before no mema and Ranzi 50 seconds now will be a last words and sana. Ya draw kitten. Mommy fun free
Nana Midase for giving me the opportunity to come and sit in your show today. I think I've enjoyed myself. But I dear Bakua Meka actually Ghana for and said for us to develop a conscious decisions that we have to take. We cannot live our life on autopilot and expect a miracle to happen. There are certain decisions we have to take, and until we start taking those decisions, or minor the way it I'm for any abre or more bobra. And if we want to bobra, or say yes, so any bre.
Yo, Sammy, your last words.
Yeah, now he be I say me can but minkai you know, something to do with the accumulated leave, there was some aspect of it that I wanted to, but I don't remember. So Mikaya Ibiana. All right.
Yo, it's here for Hayana Bedro Kete. No, thank you very much for staying with us all the way from 5 o'clock till now. And your Maya, this share Jumediana said we started talking about the rate of technology advancements, taking root, and to take care of the world and moving the world. Some see only the evolving, evolution. It keeps changing, and for that reason, people from our sector, like people from Africa, we need to catch up. And because now it's not just about Ghana, because now we live in a global village. So if you establish something, it's not just you for your consumption, but you need to think about the global world and as the global village, so that you make yourself profitable and as you make yourself marketable. I explore world outside Ghana. Be feel confident to compete with the big boys. Free horn, we looked at a year kind of what is going on in the MPP quarters. There's so many saga going on, people pointing fingers at each other. The power struggle, and I say grab it for power or on resign, so much going on. So kind of for beko and as a count for is Nanadu going to kind of take that position from him or not? Yes, we still talking about it. Next week's the basically from there we move on to a year corruption so a year dream catastrophe any proye kankai agutokro Ghana to the stance a year of this industry no omodi about said we are not sanctioned no ano nyeding na abidwa for church or almost sometimes the personalized one no yema munyeding to serve as a scapegoat nanya no kwa I see baby everywhere you go. Then we talked about what is going on in Confanoche, a retirement package. I want some about your free ones we looked at other things. When in summer bro, it's making sure so right after this program no inspirational hour pepa the nyoma emo de emo to prepare you ahead of the week ahead. UK has say, just to remind you, is Rama is in winter. Oh, Shemi, my jumper. You need to make sure you wrap yourself very, very well because while you say, with this high level and I say high standard or whatever cost of living, no, area account because this is a prescription in your sure. What Ghana also making sure so be protected. And your ma ebo cost road dear. Nen so nyame and shenema. You live within your means. They make cultural and try say the obey to me no obey not protect or home protect your family and make sure you stay safe. Until then, Midian and Nanahemaa, that's a I'll come all your way again. Ain't you want to make bye bye.